Yeah, but I just want to say I'm really thrilled that Bryant was able to come and visit and spend a whole week here at the school. She's been so generous with her time and her energy. This is something we've been working on together for a year or a year and a half.
Yeah, really.
It's been quite some time in the making. So a lot of planning went into it, a lot of energy, and this week has been wonderful. There's several more days to go. So if you haven't been a part of it yet, you can still get involved. We need all the scissors that we can get together to put in more bottles for the installation. But I think it's a really, it's a very timely issue. You know, environmental issues are really important to your generation. Not only that, but it's a beautiful work of art. It's going to be spectacular in a visual sense. So I think it's really great to be part of it. So I'm going to let Bryant get started.
Has anybody been over to Hicks and helped? A couple days since, yeah. We invite you to come and help to make this thing. It's I can't do it except that everybody helps me. Like they told you, my name is Bryant Holsenbeck, and I call myself an environmental artist. I deal with the stuff we throw away all the time. And in America, I feel like we have so much space that we can throw away and think that it's gone. But indeed, we have 4.5 pounds of garbage per day per person in the United States, which I find shocking. Anyway, so this is me. When I began my career as an artist, I was going to be a crafts person. This is when I was 23 years old, and I am no longer 23. I guess you figured that out. I made all these baskets, and I took them up, and I sold them at the Philadelphia Craft Show, and I sold every one in that truck. And I thought, oh, I can make my living as an artist. I was living on a horse farm in North Carolina, the thing that is similar to what I do now is I was hunting and gathering to find the materials and making stuff out of it. And I'm still doing that. But a lot of different things. And so what do I click? What do I click, John? Glenn? Just right here? How do I make it go forward? Oh, here. No? That's not it. This is next. I'd like to go next. All right, so this is Susan Hagen. Some of you may recognize her. And so this is about 4 years ago. This is at Penland School. I didn't have one of us together. I'm so sorry. This is when Susan and I met. We were at this opening, and it was like only artists, and we were going like, "Whoa, what do we do here? All these cool people talking about all this stuff." And so I said hi, and she said hi, and she showed me her work, which was fabulous, and we became friends. And we hung out in the welding studio, which Susan, you can see what she's welding right there. I just have a picture of me going like, whoa, whoa, this is a lot. But anyway, so that's when we met, and it's like that's when we really, I think, started, you know, I don't know, you decided to ask me. But I followed her work ever since then. And so now am I going to click like this? What am I going to do? That's it. That's it. Okay. And so again, back to how I became doing what I was doing. So like I said, I've always picked stuff up and made stuff out of it. I'm a 3D artist. I find stuff, I make stuff out of it. Anybody know what that thing is sticking out of the top of that hat? I'm from North Carolina. It's an okra pod. And then that's a pine cone right there. So I'm like working with found objects from the beginning. And so also, you have to hold stuff together, but I like to see how nature does it, and I could tell you how that's done, how you hook and snag that. We're working really hard today on getting it right. How much waterfall do we have? Like hundreds of pounds of plastic bottles are going to, be woven and hung on that ceiling. But anyway, how stuff is connected is something that I'm looking for all the time. Besides that, I'm also, stuff that I find, I want to make something out of it. And I do a lot of work in the schools, and I find pencils everywhere. So I've just, did some stuff with pencils. I think I've stopped collecting pencils now, but at one point, what can I do with pencils? And if people hire me, we want you to do something with tires. There are too many tires on the road, so I made an alligator. So that kind of stuff happens. And then just sculpture out of stuff we throw away. And this is like wood scrap. And this is made on a mattress spring, and this is sort of a precursor to becoming an environmental artist. It's three-dimensional. It's pieces of anything painted. And what began to happen is that everybody that had great stuff they didn't want to throw away, they began putting it on my porch. And I sort of began feeling like I'm the local landfill for great stuff. And I couldn't work fast enough to work with all of it, but it meant that I was becoming aware of how much stuff there was that we used once and then got thrown away. So I got I got a residency at the Headland Center for the Arts, and that's right outside of San Francisco, right across the Golden Gate Bridge. And I went with nothing. Said, I'm going to see what I can find to make art out of. And so this is the landfill for San Francisco. It's one day's garbage, and that little thing is compacting it. So I began looking at the stuff, and it's interesting because plastic bags. I mean, all that stuff is still there that I'm working with. Also, in something like this, it's really weird because tennis balls pop up because you see them because they're bright yellow, and there's some physics things that come to the top of it. Anyway, go figure. So this is my first public art project. I told my local arts council that I wanted to make a Stonehenge out of bales of plastic bottles in front of their arts council. And so these are the guys, some from the local recycling place and some of my friends. So this is my first time I got people together to do something. And so, you know, I told him, I'd never done this before, and I told him it was going to look like Stonehenge. And, you know, it doesn't really look like Stonehenge, does it? It looks kind of interesting, but it also looks like you go around the corner and you go like, ooh, a big party. Whoa, they didn't clean it up. It's the first time I learned that you get flack for doing something that isn't actually beautiful. There were people yelling at me, how dare she put that in front of our arts council? How dare she do that? It was a very interesting experience. Some other people really liked it, but I didn't know I was going to be controversial, but I was. So you put your leg out there, you might get yelled at. But anyway, that's that story. So again, I'm always looking at stuff we throw away all the time. This is when I traveled in Ghana, and this is bales of clothing from the thrift shops of the States and of Europe. And it's grade B clothing. So that means it has a stain in it or a hole in it. And this stuff gets baled and sent to countries, third world countries, and it's their clothing. And so they open those, and then you shop for your clothing there. And so in Ghana, it's called Obruni Wewu, which translates as the stranger died. It also translates as the white person died, but that's the same thing. Stranger and white person is the same word. And actually, my friend that I was with, who in this country we would call her black, she was called Obruni too. So it's non-Ghanaian person died, because if you were in Ghana, you know, anyway, we give all our clothes away. We have so many clothes. So why, anyway, we're a rich country. So, and this is back to when I went to the Headland Center for the Arts with no art. I began documenting all the scraps that I found on the ground. And this is in like this beautiful nature preserve. And so I began finding stuff like that. And so I began doing a journal documenting trash. And that's what went in the windows along with the bales that I told people it was going to look like Stonehenge. And the nice thing about that, all that the sunlight shining through all that, it sort of looked like stained glass. And I still have people saying, Bryant, I cannot forget that installation. So I got yelled at, and also people were inspired. So you can't win for losing, you know. But anyway, that's the beginning of that kind of art. So some other stuff that I make. Can you tell what that's made out of? It's a ring. Can you tell what it's made out of? Huh? Yeah. First credit cards were given to me by a credit counselor who was chopping them up for people. And people always tell me, like I said, I've got great stuff for you. I'm going to give it to you. And you usually don't want it. I can't use it all. But this guy who was doing volunteer, I took his stuff and I made something for him. And so, though I began making these things, actually how I started making birds was, there's a thing, and Susan, they might have asked you, where the White House asked artists from different states to make stuff for the Christmas tree. If you haven't been asked, every state gets. So my arts council called me and they said, Bryant, we got some bird carvers already. It was birds of your state. We want you to do something a little different. So I did. I had this credit card, so I started making a credit card birds out of them. And when I went up to see my credit card bird, they'd sort of hid it in the top, you know. But anyway. But I began making them, and I've made them for a long time. I've sort of stopped, but anyway. And so there they are in an installation with chopsticks. And just so you know, it is natural to pick stuff up. This is an Australian bowerbird. This is a guy bird. Can anybody tell me why he's picking up the bottle caps? Anybody know? Guys, think, why would you pick up a bottle cap? Anybody got an idea? Yeah.
By any chance, is he like making a display or something?
Yeah.
Like a pile?
Exactly. And the guy would.
I kind of already have experience with that. So.
Yeah, and of course the guy bowerbirds with the best display, the girls like the best. So it works out better for them. So, you know, impress your girlfriend, pick up stuff, there you go. And to be continued on the bottle caps, because bottle caps and jar lids is one of the things that I decided that I was going to collect. And I have a lot of them, and I make a lot of stuff with them. So here's a mandala. This one was at UNC. So, yeah. And can you see that that's bottle caps?
Yeah.
And, well, it is. All those little round things are bottle caps. And what do you think the hardest part about doing something like this is?
Not sneezing.
Moving it, she says. What else? Not sneezing on it.
Sorting.
What? Sorting. Who said sorting? Yeah, keeping them sorted. Because it's like if you know you're painting something, you know where the red paint is, right? So if your red paint is red bottle caps, you need to have that in a red bottle cap box, or it's going to take you a long time. So yeah, keeping them sorted. And actually, as people collected for me to convince them that I do not want your dirty bottle caps. You know, I don't have time to wash hundreds of thousands of bottle caps. So one of my friends I just cut off said, you can't give me any, because she couldn't figure out how to wash them. Anyway, do you want to guess? Let's see if I got some more. Okay, and then, okay. When I first started collecting those things and making stuff out of them, this is not my first shape. My first shape were these other shapes that kind of look like continents, and they sort of worked. And I was working with students, and they started making these circles, and I said, I got to make round things. And so I began studying round shapes in nature and also cultural ones. And so diatoms right there, the Tibetan monks, and these are big inspiration for me. The complexity of what they do, I really took off on that. And my stuff got much better when I began to study historically what was happening. Rangoli in India, and they do these out of dried rice powder in front of their houses daily. So here's another one. This is my biggest one I ever made. This is at the College of Charleston in the atrium, and that's toner cartridges that are going in there in the middle of that one. And as you can see, nobody said, okay, somebody said knocking them over, kind of like that. And you know, when I first started doing it, they're all stacked, and I thought I had to put some kind of glue on them, and this like curator just said stack them. And that's the best advice I ever got. I like the fragility is great. You have to be careful. And if somebody knocks it down, fine, we put it back up. It's not like they broke a diamond. And ironically, there it is getting bigger. You can see the bottles, you can see that. And this was in this atrium of this library, so it's 3 stories up. Okay, this was, usually people will go up to them and go like, and stop. This, because of something cultural, a cultural phenomena, people no longer stop. They walked right over that a lot. Can you think of what it would be? It's just probably part of your life. You wouldn't even think that the time when we didn't have this. Can anybody think what would start to happen? Huh? Yeah, text it. Yeah, right. Not looking up. And so that it began to be. All of a sudden, I began to have a problem that I had never had before. But anyway, I had somebody in the library that kept watch for me. But I just thought that was really interesting. So they're just finished. And what I do, you can sort of see where it's high and low. I always put the low stuff down at the edge, so if people step on it, they get their warning, you know, so, anyway. But what's, people that are working with me, I really like feedback and how it gets together. And part of this is feedback from other people, and the other part of the decision is what colors I've got. I can see pickle jars, I see milk lids. Does anybody recognize anything?
Altoids boxes.
Yeah, a lot of Altoids. Where do you get orange lids?
Gatorade.
Exactly. And more Gatorade's coming into my, orange is coming into my life than I used to be, because people drink Gatorade more than they did before. So it's kind of like a cultural change too. And when I started these 10 years ago, there wasn't as much plastic. There's a lot more metal caps. Metal caps stack a lot better than plastic caps stack. There's a close up, you sort of see. You see what those little green things are? I know.
There's no adhesive used?
Uh-uh.
Wow.
And it turns out I really love that. I love the fragility of that because, you know, flowers like that, you take and go like this, it's gone. I mean, you know, not everything has to be glued down and forever. And then what I'm doing here, yeah, go ahead.
Do you draw it out?
That's a great question. I grit it out. Let's see if I can go this. Can I go back this way? You might see a little. I see. Do I see the tape? Yeah, I see up there off the yellow. See those little things of tape? So I know from that. And then it's just kind of a conversation with me and people. Should we do a red square, an orange square? What do you think goes next? So you can go from circles to squares, looking at the Tibetan stuff. That's a great question. And I try to get people to help me do that, but I really hope that they're like know how to do it, because if you get your grid off, you get a lopsided mandala. Okay, that's me again. And this is in 2010, that's 5 years ago. When I collect stuff, there's just a lot of plastic, and I go into a lot of schools to talk to a lot of younger kids, and I ask them if they know where plastic comes from. Now I think about this, and they give me two really sincere, totally incorrect answers. They're just kind of like, duh, lady, why are you asking me this? And if you know, if I've already told you, you know, don't say, but, you know, what would be an obvious wrong answer? Where's plastic come from? I mean, they're just saying, why is she asking, huh?
What?
What?
I'm just resting my hand on my head. Heaven.
What?
Heaven.
Heaven? Thank you. Maybe it does, but,
I just wrote something.
okay. You know, like, it's everywhere.
Store.
Exactly. Why in the heck is she asking me that? It's everywhere, lady. Don't you know? You go to the store, it's plastic. You know, and so I just thought, well, that's interesting. And the other answer that they give me is trees, because they know that story about how trees, you know, make, and paper. You've heard that story, right? You recycle your paper, you save the trees. So anyway, so they've been doing that. And so I'm starting to work in colleges, and I'm noticing that all the college people, are a lot of, you know, they're carrying these things. And I'm going like, well, why didn't I think of that? And so I decided that I was going to try to live for a year without single-use plastic. Just think about it. What do you think the hardest part about that would be? Everything. I was really grumpy that first month. Really grumpy. I write a blog now called The Last Straw. I've done it, well, for 1 year I did it strictly. And except for my contact lenses and a couple other things, I was successful. How do you think I did it? What, you know, how did I eat without plastic wrap? Huh?
Like reusable bags.
Yeah, and there's like Whole Foods, and there was a co-op where I could come and take my thing in. That's how, and farmers markets. You know, and the hardest thing for me, I can make my own cookies. The hardest thing is crackers are really hard to make. So if you're serving me some crackers, I'd eat them. I just didn't buy a box of them. You know, but I have found a place that wrapped my cheese or the whatever I wanted. But you know, and different things. Like one time I was going to go camping, I thought I got to buy bags of ice. I'm going camping, and so this guy said, "Don't you know somebody that runs a gas station? Or no, a restaurant has one of those ice machines?" I said, "Yeah, I did." So it was a challenge, but I did it. And so you can go and Google that. It's called The Last Straw. I'm still writing about that. Just plastic stuff. This is plastics. A friend of mine that worked in an operating room saved all that. That's operating room plastic. And kids made mandalas out of those. Here's some kids making butterflies out of any kind of plastic they could get their hands on. And that also were put in another hospital, a children's hospital. This is a vacant lot in Ghana. And what happens, I haven't been to Ghana recently, but I was in Mexico a few years ago, and you know, that's the cheapest thing that you can buy to carry home stuff from the market are these little skinny plastic bags. And then they just start floating around the atmosphere, and they really just clog up the streets and everything. So it's a huge problem. in third world countries. It's a problem for us, but it's a real, even more problem here. Have you heard about people outlawing plastic bags places?
Yeah.
You know, because guess what? It's not biodegradable, right? Anyway, so this is in Ghana, and then my friend Jackie Abrams, who's a basket maker, she went, and so they started teaching people how to crochet and make stuff out of it. And so that's her project and what she did. I thought was cool.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah, I thought it was really cool. So I went to I went to Guatemala to see some open landfills, which I don't think I've got pictures of today. But anyway, this is what happened. So we're going up to Lake Atitlan, which is this beautiful tourist, like it's a lake surrounded by volcanoes. We did not know that rain was going to be a hurricane, but it was. So we're on our way to the guest lodge in that stuff. And it turns out all night we heard booms. And it was the earth letting go and sliding down into the lake. A lot of the villagers had like maybe up to their hips mud in their homes after that night. And this is what the lake itself looked like on the surface the next day. And I mean, this is a mini tsunami, like what happened in Japan. I mean, we have all this plastic in the world, and you try to do your best with it, but then if something comes through and gives you a flood or knocks your house down, there it all goes, all the time. So anyway, so this is me thinking about plastic. I think this was actually during my year without plastic. There's your basic plastic bag. Okay. Has anybody ever heard about the gyres in the ocean? One guy here? There's a blog called 5 Gyres Blogs that can tell you a lot about it. Does anybody know what a gyre is? You make one every time you flush your toilet. It goes like this. It's when the water goes like this. And what happens in the oceans is there are all these currents. And where the currents miss each other or something, there's just sort of dead places in the ocean where it just goes like this. And these are the 5 main ones right here. There's a huge one in the Pacific Ocean, but we got 2 in the Atlantic, a north and south. And that's where all the plastic, like that gets washed away, when that bag flies away, that's where it's going. And if you haven't heard about this, you'll start to hear about it more. And the ocean is filling with plastic, and probably every sea animal now has a little bit of plastic in them. It's worse some places than others, but when you start thinking about plastic, this is the stuff you learn. It's like, eee. Okay, this is on Midway Island. I did not get to go there yet, but Midway Island is the middle of the Pacific Ocean. You might have heard of the Battle of Midway in World War II. Anyway, middle of the Pacific Ocean, it's where the albatross mate. And huge amount of plastic there, washing up all the time. And of course, what does plastic do besides rot? What does it do instead of rot? Huh? Yeah. Yeah, it does. Oh, yeah, it does that totally. And it also breaks down into littler pieces. This is a photo by the artist Chris Jordan. And if you haven't seen these, you'll begin to. But these are dead baby albatross. And so he's made a film about it. But what happens to the baby albatross is that they do not have a regurgitation response for 6 weeks. And so when the parents scoop up everything on the ocean, like the krill and stuff, feed it to their babies by regurgitating it, the baby can't get that out of their stomach for about 6 weeks. And so a lot of the animals, I mean, it's a very, they're dying that way. And so basically they're dead, and he just took a surgical thing and just opened it up. And so there's a whole series of these online that you can see. More plastic in the ocean. I was just at a marine conference, and at the West Coast, it turns out there are high mountains, and it rushes in. East Coast with us, with all these estuaries, it kind of breaks down and just gets out there and hangs around the Sargasso Sea. And if you're a fisherman, then you know it's out there. And so here is, this is from the New York Times, how it breaks down into little particles. Anyway, that's my lecture. So, of course, I had to start collecting beach plastic. So every time I go to the coast, or anybody goes to the coast, I collect it, and I've got animals in the show out of beach plastic. So this is Again and Never Again. This is after I saw that tsunami kind of thing in Guatemala, and so we're using garden hoses and bottle caps, and in the middle of all these bottles they're full of beach plastic. And as you can see, it takes a village to do this. And so the workshop in a little bit is going to be with these animals. And so I began making animals with the stuff that we throw away. And I thought, I can make the inside of these plastic. Sort of the irony of I'm trying to make a natural animal out of stuff that we throw away. And so that's the very first one I did. And I thought, well, this is cool. I never covered them up. So, all right, this is going to work. So here they are. And so these are all full of plastic bags wrapped in scraps. That's got film wings, fawn. I'm trying to make the animals that I see. And that's my first, Susan called him chicken of the sea. I was calling him a jungle rooster. But anyway, so this is my first plastic, because I had all that beach plastic and I'm just like kicking it on all the time. Like, and every time I put it in an installation, people go, okay, that's nice, and step right over it. Nobody wants to see it. So I started making animals out of it. So there's that beach plastic as a chicken. There's a rabbit. There's that fawn again. You know, back at work. You got to fill the space with what you've got. And this is my first bottle installation. And so all those are held by pressure. And this was at Appalachian State University, and you can't see it all, but they collected 10,000 bottles for me, which they figured out from their procurement was how many bottles the school went through in a week. And at that point, for Susan and Fran, I wanted just water bottles, but they got me everything, and they couldn't separate them out, so it was sticky, so we had to wash them all. It was a mess. But this school has collected more than anybody's ever collected for me. It's going to be beautiful. How to build a forest. These are people out of New Orleans, Katie Pearl D'Amour. And so after the destruction during Katrina, they do this piece where they build a forest out of found objects, and that's the performance on the stage. And it takes like 3 days to build it, and then it all comes down. And that was my project while they were doing that. I was weaving. This is a school for the deaf, and they came and they were wild, and we wove these leaves. Studio shot. African artists. This is in Ghana. At first in Ghana, they didn't use these plastic bottles, and now this guy's a street artist making igloos out of the bottles. Uses lid on. Notice that. Just more plastic in the ocean. Plastic to surf with. I know. I know. A lot of times, especially on the east, I don't know, up north, like where I live down in North Carolina, people say, I don't see that stuff. I don't see that stuff. Well, I always see it. I just go out there, there it is. And it's, I was with the marine debris people, I was just standing there by the pier, we were picking up cigarette butts. Because, you know, and so I went back the next day, they were there again. And so the lady said, no, they're just in the sand and they just kind of shift up. But I always think, well, do you think if you smoke at the end of the earth that it's going to disappear? Anyway, plastic in the ocean. My first avalanche, Fran, today, we're working and we're thinking, I was just thinking, please don't let that waterfall fall down. Please don't let the waterfall fall down. We're filling up this big window, and we really didn't have enough pressure, but I'm trying to make it work. And so we did have a few avalanches, and I could talk to you about those later. But this is sort of where I got the idea for making the waterfall. So I'm going to find another way to stick these bottles together. We got that to work, but my first waterfall fall happened at that installation about 1.5 years ago. Here I'm using chopsticks and bottle caps and everything. It's a forest. Here's my beach plastic. See, that's probably and the rooster came from that, the pile of stuff. Again, it takes a village, you know, and so they're making the river. If you get a chance to come by, if you can't cut a bottle, you can squash some bottles. This is what we're doing. And to date, and this is my favorite water bottle fall to date, and this was done in Odessa, Texas, which is right in that corner there, kind of far western corner. it's in what's called the Permian Basin, and when you fly in there, it's full of pump jacks pumping the oil out of the land. That's why we're driving their cars, and they cannot drink their water there because the land is polluted. Anyway, see, it's backlit, Fran. You can walk behind that. I just made that the other day. This is a scrap exchange, which I was one of the founders of about 20 years ago. And we take stuff from industry and from your bottom of your closet, stuff that you think might make art out of it, but you don't know what to do with it. We take it, and we have this huge store where you can sell it and buy it again. And so I just made this necklace. It was a scrap exchange. Like that's a hose and a bicycle wheel. The tree, I showed you the tree in the back. This is at a public library. This is in Kibera. So right now, okay. Did anybody get to see Zhu Bing at the Cathedral for the Divine in New York? Okay. Well, he made 2 dragons. They're made out of the industrial. It just came down. It was up for about a year and a half. They're made out of the industrial waste. As Peking, it was being rebuilt into this huge industrial place. And he feels like that this is their marks of capitalism that we're doing. And so you can sort of see a little bit. It is lit by lights, but it's just piping, tubing, and some bamboo. And they were just really fabulous. That's Zhu Bing. This is El Natsui. Does anybody know about him? I think he's the greatest living artist ever. He's from Nigeria. I don't think this one is, but he was at the Venice Biennale, and he draped the cathedral there. And these are made out of, these are quilts, they're made out of hammered out, it's like the tops of liquor bottles. Like I said, he's from Nigeria, and he calls it imperialistic culture. And if you see a film on him, he has a village that makes them. They hammer them out and put them together. I think they're absolutely beautiful. There's another close-up of his work there. Okay, and this is Ella Natsui's student, Bright Eke, and so he's dealing with the fact that all the water in Africa is polluted. There's acid in it. You have to buy bottled or some kind of water. You cannot drink water out of the tap there. And so he's got all these bags full of sort of acid rain water. And so that, of course, led him to using bottles. So he is also an artist using bottles to make art. And ironically, I got to see him talk at my local university about a year ago. And so, you know, he gave this talk about water and pollution and stuff and this. And so somebody asked him a question. He said, "Oh, you tell me that you buy your water in bottles, but still you may drink it out of the tap? Why do you do that?" You know, we do it out of convenience. Where in Africa, you have to do it. So he said, why? Why do you do that? And this was his thesis project, which I really love. And this is, if you don't buy bottles in Africa, you buy these little bags of water, and you just bite them and squirt them in there. So he made rainwear out of the bags of water. I thought that was brilliant. Anybody know about the We Make Carpets people? This is also a collaboration, a group of people, and they call themselves We Make Carpets. So that is made out. Does anybody want to make a guess what that's made out of? Knowing what the theme of this lecture is?
White
Oh.
Oh.
Any cool? And well, trays. Those trays that cookies or something come in, but white plastic. I mean, probably there's some bottle caps in there, you know, probably so. But I know. And what this made me think of, and what we're doing here with so many people working really hard to make this giant waterfall, is that you don't do something like this alone. You do this in collaboration with other people. You do this, it's the collaboration of the collecting and the design and the laying out. Like I said, this is a collaborative called We Make Carpets. You know, I feel very gifted that you invited me to come. I do make personal work, which you saw in the animals, but I would not make a waterfall on my own. I would not be able to collect 13,000 water bottles. Although I know, like they told me at Appalachian State, that's what comes through a system, any kind of college or university, like in a week, it just comes. So anyway, we make carpets. Keep going, we make carpets. We make carpets with sort of plastic bottles. So I think they're so beautiful. And if you Google them, they make them out of everything. This is just crayons. I saw somewhere in the art studio. I saw a crayon tower here. There's all these things that we have a lot of, and we don't. It's not that valuable anymore. But we got it. People are making art out of that. So this is my very last two. So like I told you, you guys collected more bottles. It's like I keep saying, have we used up all the bottles yet? And people are saying no. That pile is not getting smaller. And I want to thank Fran, Orlando, and Susan, and the people that made this happen. Glenn, your community collected all that for us. And it's a huge thing. We couldn't have done it without you. You did a great, great job of that. Just a great job. And I just want to say it's all about teamwork. Because I really, I'm there like running around showing people how to cut bottles. And today it was like talking to Susan's class, and these little kids are coming in smushing bottles. And then I was kind of like working with the crew, like, is this waterfall really going to not fall down? Because it's heavy, isn't it? How much do you think that we've got the hanging weighs? Got any idea? What do you think?
Thousands of bottles, I don't know what.
Yeah, yeah. How do you think we can? We're working on a way of counting the bottles. Has anybody got an idea how we're doing it?
One by one.
One by one. Yeah, you stand in the corner and count. I pick you, and you can stand there too and count. Right? Huh?
20 bottles per ring.
Yeah, you would make it. You know what we're doing? The bottle caps. I'm saving. I got it. I knew I was going to do that. We're saving the caps, and then we're counting the caps. And so even better than that, we got the little kids to count the caps, and we're going to weigh what 800 are, and then multiply it by the other weight. So I'm really excited about that, but we get to figure that out. So anyway, this is just a couple of you have come to help. We invite you at least just to come by and look. It takes about 30 seconds to cut one plastic bottle into something that's going to become this waterfall, and we invite you to do it. So anyway, any questions or comments about what I've showed you? Yes?
So you're not using any adhesives on the
No.
waterfall?
No.
So you're cutting them so that they become a way to interlock?
I
So they
originally
don't fall
was
down.
going to just cut them so they interlock, but that would not be structurally strong enough. They do interlock, but I did start that way. Making little, like, I don't know, like underwater environment or something like that. But what we're doing, we're cutting them, and then the unit is the neck.
Okay.
So we're threading the neck, and originally I was using monofilament, which wasn't strong enough, so I'm using cable ties. And then making them like a daisy. Come and look, like a daisy.
So the cable ties are the adhesive.
I think it must be
Joiner.
fiber arch. There's no glue.
Okay.
It's what locks in place.
Okay, all right, cool.
But yeah, because the weight, and I did have my first water bottle did fall down because I just did it with monofilament, and somebody just went, "What's that?" A couple people did that. I had a little water bottle fall off. Actually, I had one fall on me for another reason, but yeah. But that's the unit, and it's been an evolution to figure out that that's the unit to do.
What happens to the installation?
It's a great question, and then can see what she's into. That's a great question. Hold on, yeah. Let's see first.
What happens, like, once it's taken down? Was that what she said?
Yes,
Okay.
somehow I knew you wrote that. I just knew that. Okay. She's got several. What I do in my neighborhood is I have had them by the side of the units by the side of my house all summer, and I have some on my porch, because most people aren't as good as it's been here as far as getting me the people to work with to cut them. I'm doing another one that I won't mention, and she has just started to call me to get organized. So I said she's going to need some help. So a little bit I say for help, although I knew you guys didn't need any help, and I'm much more interested in from scratch. So she has the choice. We have the choice of recycling it. It's totally recyclable, or breaking it up into units and hanging it someplace else. You know, like great from a stairwell, great for a master. So it's whatever you want to do with it. But that's great. But the nice thing is, you don't have to keep it in your closet, you know, until it gets dusty. It can be recycled. Thank goodness. So, other questions or comments or something like that? Don't be shy. Well, I can just tell you the hardest thing about what I do is hauling all that stuff around. And I live in a great neighborhood where they don't mind the fact, they just know that's the lady with all the stuff that does the art out of it, you know. Which is really nice because.
Crazy lady's back, she's picking through her cans again.
What?
Crazy lady's back, she's picking through her trash again.
Yeah.
Yes.
But I'm trying to.
Well, do neighbors ever worry about rats or anything? Like,
Rats aren't going to get to water bottles.
I know that, but sometimes people think
you
trash
know,
and then they think.
nobody has, and it's just water bottles. I got bags of water bottles out there, and nobody has. I'm happy to tell you. Don't be calling them up and telling them. Don't be writing on my listserv, please, about that. About that possibility. Yeah.
Have you ever worked with sound with this? Kind of sound the wind
A
makes
little
noise?
bit, and that's a great question. That is the next step. And as design people and audio people, I'm so glad you said that. The one before this, and I can play you this, we have a small clip of the sound of people making them and cutting them. If you ever crinkled, who's got one, a PET bottle here? Fess up, who's got one? Can I borrow it? Can I borrow it? Wait a minute. Hear that? Hear that sound? Can you hear it back in the back? So you're cutting them, you hear that sound a lot. And so they recorded that, and it really kind of sounds like a waterfall or like a stream or something. I have a clip of it. But professionally, that's the next place to go. And it might be nice to overlay it with the sound of a true stream or a true waterfall. I'm really glad you asked that question. So thank you. Yeah. And I don't know if I'll show you this in case you guys want to. We got some, you know, back there to do that, or we can make our own. You know. But I think I want to make one with the sound of, I don't know, Niagara Falls behind or something. What do you think? Somebody want to, you know, for extra credit, go up there and get that for me. How far are we from Niagara Falls?
About 8 hours.
Don't be dropping your iPhone in it, okay? Getting it back. Well, I'm going to be giving a workshop in about 10 minutes, but I really appreciate you all coming out, and I'm here.